Gather round, friends, new and old, and welcome to the POWWOW podcast. I am your host, David, and right there behind me is my partner,
Philip.
Whose name is what?
Yeah, well, I'm sorry.
There was a pregnant pause there. What's that all about?
A very pregnant pause, and I just didn't know. I thought you were going to introduce me for me, and then I would have to go with something else. So I apologize. I should have known. It was perfect, and I failed on the finish. If we were synchronized swimming, I just did a belly flop while you seamlessly dived into the pool.
Yes, well, there is my partner, Philip, my partner in podcasting, in other endeavors, in sports analysis, and of course, sex.
Yes, we are partners in sex.
Yes.
Tag out. How are you? How are you on this fine eve for you, afternoon for myself?
I am as rotten as those pumpkins that were out on Halloween.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
I had an audition, and it was really big.
Oh, yeah.
And it didn't go well. I very much believe that I blew it. I could tell that I didn't make a good impression, and it was just gut-wrenching. But here we are to host this podcast, and we move on.
Not wrench your gut.
We move on to the next one. That's just the life I live. How are you, Phil?
I didn't have any auditions, luckily, so that's step one. But other than that, just woke up and wearing a beanie. I will say I finally gave in. I think this was a few episodes ago, but I finally gave in to opening up my hat box that I've kept stashed away while moving. And this is why you've seen me wearing hats more and more, because normally I have to go do something with my hair, which I absolutely hate not doing it while not showering. So which means, I should go shower, which means I need to wake up a couple minutes earlier in order to do the podcast, which is just unacceptable. I want people to get the raw me. I want people to get the unfiltered Philip without the coffee beans, even though I don't drink coffee normally. I want to give them the rawness.
You heard it here.
Raw dog.
He wants to give it to you raw. Now, in the spirit of my failed audition and the bitter disappointment that came with it, we thought we'd talk about all the things that left us just feeling broken and shattered on the inside, in life, in film, in whatever.
Yes, we go along to certain categories, certain subjects. The first one, it's an easy one for us. We always fall back on it, but we do love it. It's what connects you and me personally. One of the many things, cinema. So what, David, is something that disappointed you to the point of perhaps depression, just crushed your soul? What's something in cinema that was disappointing, to say the least?
Look, I don't know how you're expecting me to choose. I mean, obviously, I had to choose something that is close to my heart, because otherwise, how could it really disappoint me to a great extent? So I don't know how you're expecting me to choose between Game of Thrones and Star Wars. It's just both of them just tore my heart out with how terribly they turned out. Game of Thrones in season 7 and 8, and Star Wars with the sequels. Just the way they tore everything that I love to shreds. What about you, Phil?
Well, you stole mine, but I'll go more into depth. Of course, Star Wars Episode 9 specifically.
Why don't we let this become a conversation? Because
sure.
I'm willing. Let's just rip this to shreds together. How about that?
Absolutely. So we disagree on the disappointment of Episode 8, because you thought it was disappointing as well, but nowhere near on the level of 9. Correct?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was disappointing. I just didn't think it was very well written. For example, I didn't mind the direction that it went, but I didn't think it was well written. I thought the characters felt like underdeveloped. I thought it had a lot of weaknesses. My problem with it was not where it went in terms of the story. It was just...
So that's where you feel on Episode 8. was refreshed by episode 8. I was excited for where, again, the direction of the Star Wars Chronicle was going to be going, and I very much enjoyed what they did with the established characters, how they reinvented and rejuvenated the story. And even though, yes, it was like a brush off of old things for a lot of certain elements, and I certainly can admit, what's her name, Princess Leia floating around like Mary frickin' Poppins doesn't help. I can agree with that. Even though none of those exist, or all those things existed, I was very excited for the conclusion of the newest and last trilogy. I suppose last. They might do a new trilogy, but it won't be with
But
the
it
Luke
won't be about
Skywalker.
the Skywalkers. No, yeah.
Correct. And so now we get to episode 9.
Well, before we
And
do
you-
that, hold on.
Mhm.
I think the entire trilogy as a whole was what is guilty. And I just think that the way that the story ends after in Return of the Jedi,
Right.
by creating sequels along the same story arc, continuing that arc, you completely nullify most of what happened in that original trilogy. You completely nullify the sacrifice that those characters made by just saying, well, they didn't actually succeed, they failed, and so it completely destroyed. If you actually consider those things canon, then it completely destroyed what came before. Which
I believe
I in my mind, the sequels are not canon. I can't. I just can't do that to myself.
you cannot with the
Now,
canon.
I'll admit that the Force Awakens was very much entertaining. I had a lot of fun when I saw it at the cinema. For the most part, Episode 8, The Last Jedi, was as well. Rise of Skywalker had almost no merits.
So, episode 9, my biggest problems is the flip flopping, not only within the episode or movie itself, but also just how it flip flopped, even within its own trilogy, let alone, of course, its place in Star Wars. So, now, man, how do I say a lot of this without spoiling things? I think the fact that you hear within the trailer the Emperor Palpatine's voice already, that was a bad sign for me. I was very worried when that was the last reveal there in the trailer, and that gave me cause to pause. Going into the film, I was still excited, still wanted to see everything, but the fact that there were a few deaths that were so blatantly just thrown away under the rug and then meaningless because they came back to life moments later. There was so much wrong with the film and so much wrong with what they expected. They tried to fulfill fan service along with just creating a basic Star Wars film without doing anything more, especially with and just throwing away what the previous movie had done. Throwing away everything that the previous movie had done, being like, no, we can't. This is
that's
still
the thing.
Star Wars film.
You can't create a trilogy without creating a trilogy. What they did was create 3 individual movies. They did no planning for past the first movie when they made the first movie.
Sin of that trilogy.
It was, oh my god, it was just, I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah,
now,
let's
Game
move
of
along.
Thrones, kind of along the same lines, not as much. Yeah, it's not where it went. Well, it is actually. Just so much of that went wrong, and they destroyed character arcs. They rushed everything. Everyone besides the showrunners, pretty much everyone, wanted about 3 more seasons. Full-length seasons. Including George R.R. Martin, HBO, the fans, obviously. And you know what? The actors, too. Maybe they said, oh, yeah, I'm ready to move on to other things. Like they would have said no to that amazing paycheck they were getting every episode of Game of Thrones. So
yeah, what are most of them doing now? They are not relevant anymore.
I know a couple of them have made it into the MCU, and they're doing a few movies here and there. But I mean, they're not household names, or their names aren't around nearly as much anymore.
Essentially, I think it boils down to once the source material dwindled, once the source material was gone, there is a clear correlation with the quality of the show. All right, moving along, let's go to life. Things in life that disappointed us. A big list, huge list. I'll start us out. For me, I'm going to go with college. And I realize that this might be controversial in some respects, but for me, it wasn't nearly as party induced or as complicated as I believed. Subjective, I know. That's a statement that's very subjective because for some, it is party induced. You go join Kappa Beta Alpha and then it's party all night, drink all day. Or, if you're a part of the honors college of whatever college you go to, of course it's going to be challenging more so. I, however, am speaking for myself. The challenging part of college was not grasping the concepts, was not grasping the intelligence or education of the content for which I was learning. It was just the massive overload of information of all eight things coming at me and having to do all the busy work, just the mindless, numbing busy work. And I believe college now, more so than ever, college more so is just now about actually just doing it. It's a degree in like multitasking and being able to do it more so than necessarily the complexity or things that you cannot learn without finding out yourself.
Yeah, I totally agree. I actually really missed that party aspect of university.
Never happened for me, dude. Like any
Me
parties that I went
neither.
to were not a part of college at
I
all.
think I would have enjoyed the US college experience more than I did in the UK. The UK culture just I didn't fit in there. That was really difficult. So I would actually agree that's one of the biggest disappointments was my entire 3 years of I did like people like oh you will make your best friends in college. And I made certainly one very very close friend at university in the UK, another one and well two really close friends, but most of my closest friends are still from high school and from after college. So I mean, in 3 years, I made two close friends, and everyone else I barely talk to. I mean, there are people who I would want to reach out to, but I don't, they're just not a fixture in my life at the moment. Yeah, I mean, it was overall incredibly disappointing. But anyway, besides college and, of course, the inevitable continual disappointment and rejection of being an actor, professional actor, I'm going to say this going on several dates with someone and it's going great, and then you find out that they're a cat person instead of a dog person. That, I'm not kidding, man. That's very disappointing because it
Yeah.
like, as much as like it doesn't make me not want to hang out with them anymore, obviously, that's not the deciding factor. It kind of is, though. It's an underlying thing that I automatically, in my brain, I'm like, well, I guess this is not going to be forever then. Like, even if I'm looking for something really serious, really long term, in my brain, if they're a cat person, I'm like, well, that like we're not as compatible as we could be.
Some underlying part of you, the part of you that was able to think it was okay to not tell me you have a cat, just is wrong. It's wrong with me, and I cannot stand it.
I don't know what it is, but maybe I just am more attractive to cat people than dog people because there's so many people who I go on dates with who end up being cat people. It's disproportionate and I don't like it.
I think women are more so drawn to cats than men. Men like having somebody to depend on, like having somebody to care and nurture, which is dogs. Dogs are dumb. Dogs
Men need
need
love.
guidance.
Men need
Men
that
need love.
love
And
and
women,
support of a
God bless
dog.
them. Women, and again, hate to
Women
gender
need someone
stereotype
as
it.
cold-hearted as them,
Oh,
like a
wow.
cat.
No, 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 no. I was going to say self-sufficient. Self-sufficient. Don't put me in that category. Goodness gracious. All right, let's move along before we get even worse off. Biggest disappointments, but we'll just go with the random stuff. This could even be a part of like life as well. I definitely want to go here first. It's
Okay,
no,
go
it's
on.
no secret on my love for Arnold Palmer's. I love Arnold Palmer's.
So you've
I
said
I'm a heathen for them. I will sell
a
out
heathen.
many things. Yes, the things I would do for a good Arnold Palmer are disgusting. Oh God, I love them. But so the biggest disappointment in my life, I'm sure that you're familiar with this, David. There's an Arizona iced tea brand called Arnold Palmer, and the reason why it is that they've aligned with Arnold Palmer. They've gotten his permission to use his name and likeness, so it's on the bottle, it's on the thing. Excuse me. So they go out and produce this thing called Arnold Palmer iced tea, and it's an Arnold Palmer but it is one of the most disgusting renditions of an Arnold Palmer I've ever tasted. It is an atrocity to the name of Arnold Palmer. It is an atrocity to the taste of what an Arnold Palmer should be. Its tea it's all sugar. It's just pure. No, you stop it. I swear to God, I will go over to the Netherlands right now and slap the shit out of you. You stop it right now.
I like it.
God, I hate you. You're the reason why evil exists in this world. It's a bad Arnold Palmer. It's sugar. It's nothing but sugar. There's no tea in it. It's just an excuse for like bitter lemonade.
Okay. All right.
It's atrocious.
All right, we're gonna move on. Disneyland. I honestly found it quite disappointing. It was, as far as amusement parks go for adults, there's so many better options than Disneyland.
Wow, we are getting controversial. But yes, I mean, I agree with you.
This entire episode could be a bite me. No kidding. I mean, I don't know. It's just like the rides aren't that good. Yes, some of, like, a lot of the characters, because obviously Disney friggin' owns everything. So there's a lot of great characters and themed rides. But I went to the entire little Star Wars section that they have at Disneyland, California, and it sucked. I mean, okay, no. I'll say this. The area was awesome, and the way they designed it was great. But the rides, which at the end of the day, for me, is the biggest reason to go to an amusement park, is the rides. I love the thrills. They sucked. They were terrible. They were not good. And so, yes, there were highlights. There was good stuff. But I just think that your money is better spent on a simpler amusement park with more thrill rides.
I think Disneyland, more so than a lot of the other theme parks, relies on nostalgia to get you to enjoy it. Because imagine
I would say the same thing about Universal, because they have about as many decent rides as Disney do. Like, there's some fun ones. Like the Mummy is a great ride. It's a lot of fun.
Regardless of if you've seen it.
If you go to Universal in Orlando, then there's other great rides there. There's the Hulk roller coaster. There's Rip Ride Rocket. There's some good rides. But for the most part, the rides are all those virtual reality, like, where there isn't actually any G-forces involved. It's just sort of like a chair that wobbles you around, and then there's like, you have like 3D glasses on, and it shows you like you're in the Harry Potter castle or something. Yeah. Like it's mildly entertaining at best. Whereas if you go to
Knott's Berry Farm,
Busch Gardens, for example, or Kings Island in Cincinnati, Ohio, these are just ones that I've been to. I'm sure there's many others that actually have a lot of roller coasters. That's a good time. That is a good time. That's the kind of amusement park that I want to go to.
All right.
I don't care if Mickey Mouse isn't there.
Your last little disappointment in life.
All right. I'm going to just say this, just tag this in with it, because these are both food. New York pizza, it wasn't bad, but based on how like much it had been hyped up, it was so disappointing. I was like, this is it? This is what everyone's been going crazy about? But we've been over that before. And then Whataburger in Texas. Yes. I tried Whataburger, and man, is it the most mediocre, average thing I've ever had in my life. It was so disappointing compared to In-N-Out, In-N-Out, or
do not trust
even Shake Shack.
Yeah, Shake Shack's fantastic. You need to go enjoy the things in levels. You need McDonald's first, Whataburger's to step up, then go to In-N-Out, then go to Shake Shack. That's the order, so that way you get maximum value and maximum appreciation of your burgers. Those are the official ranks of those burgers in that order, with Shake Shack being the best, McDonald's being the most average.
Edible. I think In-N-Out is the best, in my opinion.
Have you? And you've
but
had
I do
Shake
love
Shack?
Shake Shack. Oh yeah, loads of times. They're very greasy though.
I can agree with that.
Like there's an excessive amount of grease in the Shake Shack burger. I do love the mushroom thingy.
Shake.
No,
the mushroom shake.
The mushroom shake? No. No. In-N-Out for me is pretty much, as far as fast food burger places go, In-N-Out is fantastic. But yeah, Whataburger, I just heard such a big thing about it from people from Texas. But people from Texas are just obsessed with Texas, and they don't know what's good for them.
Do not trust people that have a cat and say that Whataburger is better than In-N-Out, because those two things are factually incorrect. You should not have a cat, and you should not have Whataburger. Anyways,
Yes, these are the rules that
above
I
him.
live by.
Yes, and by God, it's what we need to live by as a country, a nation, and a world. All right, last one for me. You know what was disappointing, and this might sound weird, but getting a car, and here's why. First of all, when you're young and you're like getting a car, you only associate it with freedom, right? You're thinking of like, man, I can go to this party, I can stop asking for rides, yada yada yada. Here's the thing: between having to save up to buy a car or enough for a down payment at least, then making said payments. Oh, wait, here comes insurance. Oh, you want air conditioning and it randomly breaks and you know nothing about cars? There's an easy $2,000 somewhere. Not to mention gas. It very easily piles up to become less and less freedom driven and more just a responsibility. And Lord help you if you actually like cars, and then it just becomes like a very expensive little hobby that you have. Cars, while yes, I do enjoy having a car and the freedom that it entails, the payment and the like adulthood that comes along with it is subtle but strong, and it is disappointing to say the least. This episode of POWWOW Podcast is sponsored by Sides.
Meet Sides, SIDES, an app that helps you take the law into your own hands.
Turn ordinary agreements into binding contracts in seconds. Then, if a dispute arises, Sides will step in to resolve it for you.
Wait, Phil, that was supposed to be my line.
What did we agree to in the contract?
I don't know. I guess we can use Sides to settle this dispute, because each dispute costs a small one-time fee.
And if you win, which I will, it's all awarded back to you.
Sign up now and get 16% off for a limited time only. Oh, ow, woo. That's right. It's time for Bite Me, our mini segment this week. And I've got a good one. It is on theme with the time of year, and y'all are gonna hate it. Halloween is past and Christmas is coming up, and therefore I'm talking about The Nightmare Before Christmas. I did promise this several episodes back. The Nightmare Before Christmas sucks. It is a terrible movie. The music is irritating. I don't understand how people connect with it. It is not a good. It's too Christmassy for Halloween. It's way too Halloweeny for Christmas. It sucks. I do not like it, and I hate when people talk about it like it is the greatest thing they've ever seen. I do not like Nightmare Before Christmas. Bite me.
Living in Arizona, and we are now slowly making our way beyond summer, it's obvious to see sometimes that people don't have the funds, don't have the ability to build an in-the-ground pool, and that's fine. But where you cross the line is when you get an above-ground pool. You know why? It's because above-ground pools suck. What do they do for you? They're just a big extended bath. That's all they are. And yes, I understand you can make the same point for a pool, but here's the difference. The pool, you can add texture to it. You can add seashells if you so want. You can add a slide. You can add this. You can add that. But an above ground pool, not only does it have the capability of possibly washing out and then just falling apart everywhere.
You mean like one of those inflatable pools, or
inflatable pools? If it's like an actual like professional out of the ground pool, I don't care which way it is. If it's an above ground pool, it's lame. It's not cool. You're just going inside of like a little self-contained container, like a bunch of anchovies. And you know what? If you don't agree with me, bite me.
All right, and so for the once more, to brighten the subject a little bit up, excuse me, we're going to flip the script, talk about things that we expected to be meh and turned out to be friggin' awesome. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to go cinema, because kind of had to. Now, I didn't look too in-depth into my movie database, but I did immediately think of Wonder Woman, because based on all the DC movies, which are mostly very, at best, average, Wonder Woman, I haven't seen the second one. because I'm afraid that it won't be as good, but I will see it eventually, I'm sure. The first Wonder Woman turned out really good. As far as superhero movies go, and especially as far as DC movies go, I really enjoyed it.
I thought that one of the more appropriate things was that really didn't disappoint was living out in California. I realized that perhaps for each person, myself included, Hoffman, you're with me on this. Hollywood disappoints. Hollywood
Oh, yeah.
specifically disappoints.
Yeah.
But quite frankly, living there does not disappoint. I mean, sure, there are things that suck just as much as anywhere else.
I'll say this.
Taxes, parking. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll say this. Hollywood was really exciting because I came from Europe, living in Hollywood the first year that I was in LA. I lived in Hollywood. And yeah, it had perks. There was always something to do. It was exciting. It felt like a movie. But after that year, I was happy to move out of Hollywood because it really
Sure.
is dirty, gross, touristy. Meh.
But even then, California itself, it's not until you're walking around like mid-December still without a jacket and it's like perfect weather and everything, and it's like the 2 days of the year where you're like, oh wow, it's bad weather today. That's kind of weird. That's unusual to when you say to yourself, wow, California,
Yeah.
way to go. So California,
Yeah.
I approve of that message.
Absolutely
Go ahead,
with you.
Hoffman.
California is one of one of my favorite places. I miss it very much. Anyway, I'm going with football, and I'm talking about American football, not soccer. I don't care for that much. But football is a sport that I never thought I would like 10, 12 years ago. I grew up with rugby. Rugby is my love. It is the greatest sport ever, and that'll never change. However, I never expected to like football as much as I do, and it really is. It has become I'm all in it, man. I'm invested. I follow it so closely now, and it is very exciting. I love the hype around it. It's fantastic. It's a good sport, and I would recommend it to a lot of people. You have to stop coming at it from the perspective of soccer, where everything's free flowing and you watch sort of 45 minutes straight of action. And when I say action, it's kind of boring action, but it's action in quotes.
Right.
Football, yes, there's a lot of stoppages. You have to deal with the commercial breaks. However, stop thinking of it like soccer and start thinking of it like a chess game. And then you will start to respect it a lot more.
I know I say this and people roll their eyes, but it's the greatest soap opera ever because there are real life consequences, real life teams, real life people involved, but it plays out. And some of the stuff that happens, you would not be able to write it out unless it happened in football because people just wouldn't believe it. It comes across as too cheesy and corny. Anyways, last thing for me, things that lived up to the hype or even just surpassed it. Broadway, man. Broadway, I had expectations going in, and it's really, unless you like live in New York, I'd imagine, and are just a theater snob, and you're so jaded to it, there's really not a bad Broadway show. If you make it onto Broadway, even the bad ones, even like Spider-Man No Way From Home or whatever, or Turn Out the Lights, whatever the friggin' musical is.
I don't remember.
Even the bad ones, man. The fact that they made it to Broadway and they're with that talent, somebody's fulfilling their dream and who's that talented, even the bad ones are still phenomenal, man. Like, I don't know how you could go to your first Broadway show and be disappointed unless it's like you didn't see like the one performer you wanted to see. But even then, the talent is just outrageous. The show qualities are too good. The prices are hefty, but
Yeah.
it's so freaking good.
I've only seen one show on Broadway, but it was fantastic. And the most exciting thing of all is the game, and we have arrived at that very moment in this show. And I am delighted to welcome on a guest who's been on here before twice, and now he's here, and we're actually able to see him because of our software upgrade some time ago. It is Alex. Welcome back, Alex.
Thank you very much. I feel like third installment, tend to be good. Revenge of the Sith, Return of the King. That's the level we're shooting for, right?
Yes, and certainly not The Rise of Skywalker, certainly.
No.
No.
Very, very good. Good caveat.
But that that was the third installment of third installments in that saga.
So it's third installmentception is what gets you.
Yeah, it crossed the streams and
exactly
and resulted in just the catastrophe that it was. Anyway, Alex, welcome back. You've been on twice. You've been fairly successful, even in cases where you didn't win, you've always managed to impress. So we're delighted to have you back. And we've got a few questions for you.
Yes, we do. Let us start with me because I get to. Absolutely. My first question here, Alex. What is something in the world that you find to be lame? Could be anything. Man buns, trolleys, Twizzlers, whatever you think of.
Can it be abstract or does it have to be a thing?
Yeah, maybe whatever your interpretation was.
Lack of enthusiasm, I find to be lame.
You know what?
That fits.
I don't mind that.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that aligns with your worldview of me.
Yes, and no, that's not a bad thing, obviously.
Huh?
Go ahead, Hoffman.
All right, my question. Well, actually, I have two here because anyway. But I'm going to pick one.
Mm-hmm.
Should people respect their elders?
Is it a yes or no question?
Well, I mean, you can explain if you want.
I think yes, but only to the extent that you should respect any person, right? Like, I don't think any particular level of respect should be referred to elders versus youngers.
Fair enough.
I'm going to go to end my last question here. Alex, if someone offered you $10 million USD, $10 million to get as jacked as Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson within 5 years.
Okay.
1, would you at least try? And 2, do you think you could do it? 5 years.
1, definitely would at least try, I think. And 2, could I do it? Was the yardstick Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson? Because I couldn't do that for sure. But
yeah, the yardstick is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
I guess.
How much steroids are you willing to use, Alex?
That's what I was thinking. Like $10 million buys a lot of steroids in theory. So
I mean, body types still exist though, so you can't just change your body type.
Genetically, I'm not predisposed to reach quite, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson level. So yes and no in succession would be my answers to those questions.
Fair enough. All right. Well, let's go ahead and scurry along to our game. And to key in on the theme of disappointments, I'm going to disappoint you by just bringing along a plain old game called Higher or Lower. Of course, the concept of the game goes exactly with the title. You will have to guess whether a number is the true number of something is higher or lower than the one given to you. Now, Alex, do you have a preference on who your competitor will be in the first of your 2 rounds playing with us?
I'll play against David in the first round.
Phenomenal. That means that my game is first, and let's go along. Of course, Hoffman, we both have skipping stones to utilize in this game, and keep that in mind. No need to use it.
Oh, I didn't think I did.
Oh, I do. That's right.
No,
That's right.
You do. Okay. I don't.
Phenomenal. Yeah. All right. So, on par with disappointing in our theme, I am coming to you with a game, of course, that is, well, it's including of disappointment. So I have a list here of the most disappointing movies according to Chillopedia.com, a beacon of cinematic knowledge, I'm sure. I will be giving you either the rating of the audience or critics' score of that same film from Rotten Tomatoes. That rating number will be wrong, of course, but it will be both your jobs to correctly identify if the rating is too high or too low from the actual number. Oh, and for shits and gigs, the rating that I do not give you, a la if I give you the critics' score or if I give you the audience score, the one that I did not give you, you'll have the opportunity to identify. And if you do so and get it within 2% of the actual, 3% of the actual number, you will then get a 0.5 point boost to your overall score. Shall we begin?
Let's do it.
All right, Alex, you go first here. Ghostbusters 2. The critics' score that I will be giving you is 42%. Is the actual number higher or lower than 42% for Ghostbusters 2?
Ooh, I've never seen it, and I imagine this is one where the sequel was regarded as worse than the original, just purely based on pattern, right? But I'm going to go with higher critic score because 42% seems quite low, and it's still got Bill Murray and the rest in it, right? So it's got something speaking for it.
Makes sense. Hoffman?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think 42 is tough. I'm gonna follow suit and go higher.
All right, you both are correct. It is indeed higher at 53%. Now, Alex, you guessed correctly first, so you get to go first. What was the audience's score in percentages?
Ooh, and this is one too where it came out way before Rotten Tomatoes, right? So it's a modern day audience, presumably rating this movie. I'm going to say like 77%.
77%. Hoffman?
I'm gonna say 69.
69. Hoffman, you were closer to the idea going lower, but it was only 61%. So neither one of you gets a boost there. You remain tied at 1 point. Excuse me. All right. Aliens 3, Hoffman. Aliens 3. I'm going to give you the audience score of 33%. 33%. Higher or lower?
Higher or lower than 33%. Aliens 3. I'm gonna say 33 is quite low. I'm gonna say higher than 33.
Okay. Alex, have you seen Aliens 3 perchance?
I have not seen. I don't think I've seen a single
I haven't
Aliens
either.
movie. Maybe one like 10 years ago.
I think I saw Prometheus, and that was about it.
I've seen Prometheus and the original Alien.
I might have seen the Alien v Predator mashup thing that they did.
Yes.
Fantastic.
I mean, I had a friend. My best childhood friend was a massive fan of both the Aliens and Predator films. I should have seen more of them. But no, I'm gonna
33%.
Differentiate myself from David and go lower.
And with that, one of you takes a lead. And that someone is actually Hoffman, who did indeed guess it correctly. It is higher at 47% for the audience score. Now, Hoffman, you get a chance to solo guess on the critics' score. What percentage did the critics give it?
I think I'm going to say 25%.
25% for the critics. You are incorrect. It was at 45%, so much closer in line to what the audience thought. Yes. Next one, a fan favorite, I'm sure. Alex, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. We're going to go with the critics score at 22%. 22%, Alex. Higher or lower than 22%?
Higher, for sure. I think, if I don't remember incorrectly, I think it wasn't as critically panned. Like in the original reviews that come out, in the week that the movie's coming out, it wasn't actually as criticized as popular history now remembers it to be. So no, higher for sure.
Higher for sure.
I'm gonna agree, even though it's not, because I think that the critical reviews at the time, because I think in the time since would be reflected in this website that Phil's getting his information from. However, I still think it would be higher. You said 22, Phil?
I said 22, yes, for the
I still
critics.
think it would be higher than 22. 22 seems quite low, so I'm going to go higher as well.
And you both are correct. It was much higher. It was at 52% for the critics. Now we go to the audience score, gentlemen, and you both get to guess. I believe I started with Alex. So, Alex, yet again, you draw the short straw here. What would you like to guess for the percentage for the audience?
63%.
63%. Hoffman?
I'm going to say 55%.
Wow. You both missed it, but barely. If it were by 4 percentage points, you both would have gotten it. It's at 59%.
Right in the middle.
It's literally
59.
right in the middle. That is astounding. Wow.
Absolutely.
All right. So with that, Hoffman leads 3-2, and with only 2 left to go, I'm going to start out with Hoffman for both of these, presumably, or at least until Alex gains back some ground. So Next one goes to David, your favorite film, I'm sure, 50 Shades of Grey.
What did you say it was?
You're guessing for the audience score 42%, higher or lower at 42%.
I think it's higher. I think higher. I think people liked it in a very guilty sort of way.
All right, Alex. David went higher on 42%. Where do you go?
Higher as well. Yeah.
He sticks with higher, and with that, he gains no ground, but neither of you gain a point either. It is actually lower, painfully
Really?
lower, at 41%. 41%.
Wow.
So just a tick under. Last one, and we'll start with you, David.
The score is 3-2, right?
The score is 3-2. Alex, you only have one way to catch up, and it's by hoping to God that David guesses is wrong. Yes, so we'll start out, and this one's close. This one is going to be close as well, and it's going to be difficult, I hope. Batman and Robin. It's going to be a cold day in hell for you, Batman. Oh, I love it. It's so
kind
bad.
Kind of transitioned into
good.
fat bastard there from
a little bit
Austin
at the
Powers.
end there, but I digress.
What are you, Batman?
No, critics score, and I'm going to start it at 13%. 13% for Batman and Robin. Hoffman.
Is this the one with George Clooney?
This is the one with George Clooney, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and everybody else under the sun.
I'm going to say lower.
He's going lower. And Alex?
And I'll go higher because that's the only chance I have.
That's the only chance he has. Unfortunately, David did hit it correctly. It is lower. It's at 12%. David, in gigs, do you want to guess the critics' score percentage?
Yeah, I'm gonna say 21%.
You miss. It is at 16% for the critics. 16. Sorry, for the audience. For the audience, I'm sorry.
Fair enough. Yeah. Not a good movie.
Yes, not a good movie at all. David, go ahead. Victorious, go to your game.
In the spirit of disappointments, the biggest disappointment of all, myself.
Oh boy.
Self-deprecating humor, that's all. And so I themed this entire quiz around myself. You guys are both close friends of mine. You both know me quite well, or so you would have me believe. So all these questions are about me. And our first question: how many countries have I visited thus far in my life? Is it higher or lower than 26? Alex, we'll go to you first.
Higher. I feel like I've heard you say the number at some point, and I feel like it was in the high 20s. And you might have visited another country since then. Who knows?
I'm curious, David. Does it count if you have a holdover, but you never actually go out? And are you counting
only if I've left the airport?
Okay. Because I was going to say then it's definitely higher. But if it's at 26, I do think it is indeed higher. I'm going to go higher, probably like 28, 29.
You are both wrong. It was 22. Unfortunately, since going to Mozambique for the first time in 2017? No, 16? I don't remember. 15? I can't. I haven't visited any new countries since then. It's very depressing. Anyway,
get on that.
Now I'm going to follow suit, and with the exception of the last question, depending on when or if Phil chooses to use a skipping stone, if we even get to the last question,
yes, that's right.
You guys can guess what the actual number was, and you can get an extra half a point. So
exquisite.
Alex, you want to guess first what the actual number was?
Didn't you just say 22?
You just said 22.
Did I? Oh, okay. Well,
did we get the point still?
No.
Nah.
All right. I will not say the correct answer in the future. I'm not even drunk this time. Anyway.
Sure.
All right, Phil, we go to you first this time. How many U.S. states have I visited thus far in my life? Higher or lower than 10?
Okay, again, does it count if you've left the car or not? Like, what are we? Because I know you drove through like all of them.
Yeah, I have to have gotten out of the car. Looked around a bit, I guess. Higher or lower than 10?
Oh, it's painfully close. I'm going to say higher.
Okay. Alex, what do you think?
I'll reverse the strategy. I'll say lower. I feel like California's a big state. The other states you've been to are big states. You wouldn't have traversed too many of the sort of. I don't know how much time you spent on the East Coast. Like that's the crux of it, right? If you've spent a lot of time crisscrossing between New York and Boston and Philadelphia and all of that, then you would have hit the number probably. But I'll say lower.
One of you is correct, and that person is Phil. It was higher, but I won't say the correct answer. I was about to. Phil, you'll get to guess first. What is the actual answer?
Actual number is, I either have 11 or 13 in my mind. I'm going to go with 13.
I'll say 11.
Okay, well, unfortunately, the correct answer is 14. So very close, Phil. Very
Dang
close.
it. Dang it.
But you do have 1 point, Alex.
I do.
You have no points thus far. Question 3.
Coming from behind for the victory.
For how many years of my life did I play on a rugby team? Is it higher or lower than 7? 7 years of my life.
So it's
Alex,
not
you first.
consecutive years, I presume.
That doesn't matter. Yes, they are consecutive, but
I'm going to say lower.
lower than 7.
I'm going lower as well.
All right, both correct. Both correct. You both get a point. Alex, you may hazard a guess as to what the actual number of years is.
I think you played all through university, so that's 3 years. And if I'm not wrong, you were on a team the last year of high school as well. 4 years? 4 years sound wrong. I'm going to say 5 years.
I was going to say 5 years as well, and I don't feel like moving. So 5 years as well.
All right, you both get half a point. That is exactly right. 5 years. The last 2 years of high school, I played at a club here in the Netherlands, and then I played all 3 years of university. Well done, Alex. Reminder,
Don't say
Phil.
we don't know you.
Reminder, Phil, you do still have a skipping stone.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
All right. This is a fantastic question, if I do say so myself.
I'm ready to skip.
On what day in August of 2019 did you two meet? Is it a day higher or lower than the 22nd?
Can we consult calendars? Just to know weekdays and things.
I say no.
No, I mean, we shouldn't. That's definitely cheating,
No.
to be sure. Who's answering first?
Oh, we are going to Phil first.
Damn it.
You can skip.
I can, but it seems foolish to do so. I'm going to go... Oh, man, that's COVID. Like, everything in COVID just is one lump.
This is pre-COVID.
Oh, that's right. That is right. Okay. When was that? That had to be...
August. I did say August of 2019. But it's what day in August of 2019?
Right, of
higher
course.
or lower
I know
than
when
the
that
20...
is, but I'm like, when in my life was I doing on that? I probably had to be then August. I'm going to guess lower.
Lower than the 22nd. Alex?
I feel like I have an unfair advantage given that it was definitely a bigger deal in my life to like go on vacation to California than it was as much of an impression as I'm sure I've made on Phil. I'm sure it wasn't as momentous, but I think it was later in the month, so higher date, right? Like later than the 22nd of August.
You both went in different directions. One of you is correct, and he ties the game. Alex, you are correct. It was later.
Everybody likes
later than the 22nd. And Phil, you will get the chance to gain a half a point. How much later? What date was it?
Do I go first?
Well, you guessed first.
Oh, okay.
I'm not doing the thing that you did where you have to get the question right in order to get the bonus point.
I see.
Either one of you can have a chance to get the bonus point.
Right. I'm going to guess the 26th.
All right, Alex.
I'll say 27th.
27th. Bang on. Well done.
There you go.
Oh,
so you take a slim lead. You are 3 points to 2.5. Ooh, it's hotting up.
It's hotting up.
It is hotting up. It is question 5 now. Which is my favorite hand in poker?
Oh.
Is it higher or lower than a flush?
Oh.
And this time we go to Alex first.
It's higher.
It's not the best one. My favorite one. Is it higher or lower than a flush?
Oh, hold on. Oh, geez. See, I've heard you and Yegor just have a lot of fun with this at some point, but the name escapes me. Higher or lower than a flush? No, higher. Definitely higher.
Okay, Phil, what do you think?
Well, lower than a flush would be a straight, trips, or 2 pair, and then high card. So, I mean, I doubt that it's high. Well, could be high card. You are cheeky. So I will go...
The best way to win a poker hand.
Yeah. Just like I have nothing. I have a jack high. You know what?
And
Just
you know,
because
Phil, you don't technically you're only half a point down, so you could pick the same one. You just would have
I
to
could.
rely on
I
guessing.
could. I think it's lower though. For some reason, something's telling me lower, and I'll give you my guess with when and if I'm correct.
It is higher,
Oh, sons on
unfortunately,
balls. All right.
which means that Alex, you win. You have a resounding victory, 4 points, and you guys can take the opportunity now
Can
to
I
guess
extend
what
my lead? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Hold on. He can't. I could still win. I could still tie it.
Can you?
No, that was the last question.
Oh, damn it!
Yeah, that was the last
So I'm
question.
ahead
Unless
by
you wanted to
one.
use your skipping stone, which you didn't.
Oh, I thought that I had one more question in me. All right, never mind.
Commiserations.
All right. Well, hold on a second, Alex.
Yeah.
What is the hand?
I think it's a straight flush.
Okay, Philip.
Let's go with the full house.
Full house is correct.
Yeah.
Really?
I love a full house.
Eh,
Always, I love like
you're
aces
so
full of
welcoming.
kings.
You love having guests over, throwing a party.
I also love that the guy in Casino Royale who goes full house.
Full house.
That's a good. I need to rewatch that movie. Actually,
It's very good. It holds up well.
No Time to Die
The
prompted
final question was, how much do I weigh? Higher or lower than 88 kilograms, or for you, Phil, 194 pounds? That was your skip question.
Well, if I'd have gone higher, I swear I would have said all muscle, my friend, all muscle.
What
But
What would you have said?
What would I have said? I would have said 184. That's a bit much.
194.
194. Yeah, you're lean, man. You are a lean running machine. I'm gonna go lower.
Alex, higher or lower than 88? Lower than 88 kilograms?
Yeah, you're not that
correct.
much
Obviously
heavier than me.
lower. And I haven't weighed myself recently. I know that I'm lower than 88 kilograms.
I feel like you'd notice.
So I don't actually know the correct number anyway. But I also kind of want to do a tiebreaker here. How long in months was my longest relationship? Phil, you first.
Ooh.
That's that chick from Florida. So
Nobody ever from Florida. No.
0.1 months.
Point Jesus. In months,
6 hours.
Let's go with
Didn't think it lasted that long.
15 months.
All right. Alex?
Okay, I should be able to work this out from first principles.
From first principles. You're such a nerd.
I think it's definitely less than 2 years and more than 1 year. I'm gonna go ahead and say 16 months.
Well, smart strategy. And you would have won. The correct answer is 22 months. So yes,
wow.
less than 2 years, but close to it.
Nice. Well, Alex, I'm so glad you were able to work your wits on me and beat me. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate that.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yes, absolutely. But in all sincerity, appreciate it. Yes, Alex, it's always a pleasure having you on, and it's always a pleasure having something to read. What are you going to? Are you going to have a finger's worth of something and then enjoy a nice book behind you?
Tonight, no, I think alas, I am heading back to work after this. It's one of those Monday nights.
Yes.
And also, this is the terrible thing about having a big bookshelf is I have actually only read about half of them, I think, and I will not read the entirety of the bookshelf in my lifetime, most likely.
Sorry, like last question here. Do other people give them to you, or did you at some point say like, oh, I'm interested in this and let me add it to the shelf?
I'm just overambitious. Like I go into a bookshop and I'm like, I'd love to read that book. And then I'll read, my girlfriend hates me for this because I'll read sort of 20 pages in a book and then move on to the next one because that one's interesting. And in my mind, I'm going to finish all of them at some point. But in my heart, I know that's never going to happen.
All right. Well, Alex, thank you so much for joining us. And we'll go.
Do you have anything that you want to plug before you leave, Alex?
Nothing at all. Just have a lovely November. Hope everybody's having some nice weather ahead of and make good plans for the holidays and things.
Yeah, we have very devoted fans, Alex. What would you advise them to get a tattoo of in order to commemorate your time on the podcast?
Oh, that's a very good question. I think a massive bookshelf is the only answer.
It's
Just a
the
full
only
back
answer.
tattoo,
Oh, wow.
and you can put your whole. See, that could be a cool idea for a tattoo, though, like a bookshelf that you add to progressively as you in the same way people get tattoos of world maps and add countries as they visit them. Just do an ever expanding bookshelf on your back.
Alex, that's actually, I think we've stumbled upon something here that
We're
is
gonna be millionaires.
legendary. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. How do we copyright tattoos? I don't think it's possible, but we will find a way, and we will get on to the scores here. Alex beat the out of me, so therefore I go down to 14 and 20. David reigned victorious over Alex, and he goes to 15 and 19.
That slaps. So, I don't know. I actually really expected that you were going to bring us in there, Phil, and that's why I came in late there. My speaking of late, my song this week is called "Late to the Party," and it's by M.A. M.I. E.M.E.I. E.M.E.I. It's M.A. M.E.
Amia.
No, not Emia. It's
Embryo.
M-E-E-I. So it's E-I at the end, M-A. Anyway, it's called Late to the Party, and I came across it. It's like, I think she's actually truly a small-time, trying to make it big artist, and I think this song is blowing up, but if you haven't heard it yet, you should check it out. It's actually kind of a jam. So I recommend this. This is the true spirit of That Slaps. It is a song that there's a good chance you haven't heard before. Late to the Party by M.A. It slaps.
Of course, it's a bit of a jam. If it's going on the list, it's a bit of a frickin' jam. Put it on some toast. We go to mine, and in the line of disappointments, I'm going to disappoint one David Hoffman, who already knows that he will not want to add this to the Spotify playlist. But you will have to, because I'm officially putting it in there. Damaged by Danity Kane is a song that slaps, and you'll recognize it when you hear it, David. And I realize right now you are filled with confusion. You are filled with confusion, but it is a great, great song. It is. You will be disappointed that it's included into the playlist, but damn if it don't slap.
As always, we want to thank you guys so much for listening, and we have a few other thank yous. First of all, to Jake Corlang and Cass and Crossland for the music that you hear on this show.
Thank you, of course, to Tara Amstutz and Josh Hans for their wonderful contributions to the show. We really appreciate you guys, and we love seeing your work each and every episode.
If you haven't already, follow us on Instagram at POWWOW_podcast. You can find us on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, just not Pandora, because screw you, Pandora.
Screw you. If a bear in the woods, is anyone around to smell it?